This is our video analyzing our Ecocolumn lab and answering the questions, like the Ecocolumn lab questions.
So the first question we did, it says, look at your plant height graphs, including your water plant. Discuss what happened with your various plants over time and the possible reasons for the changes. So we talked about our plant height graphs. We did plant height 4 and plant height 3. And we said both plant height graphs showed that the plants slowed down or stopped growing completely over time. As the lab progressed and the plants got bigger, they competed for resources and ran out of space to expand, which slowed their growth. And the second question we did says, look at your soil measurements, temperature, pH, fertility. And discuss what happened with these measurements over time and the possible reasons for change. So we said, our soil fertility varied throughout the experiment, but generally it decreased over time. And here's our graph for that. This probably happened because the plants took nutrients out of the soil towards the end of the experiment, and we didn't water the soil as much. The temperature fluctuated depending on the temperature of the classroom and the amount of sunlight and solar energy the plant was receiving at the time. So here's our soil temperature graph. Oh my gosh. Okay, good. The pH stayed at 7 the whole time, which was good because it was a good environment for our plants to grow in.
Okay, so for the observational questions, we did 1 and 3. So the first one was, discuss your observations. What were the most significant observations and why? And we said the most significant observations were the heights of the plants. Once the plants breached the surface of the soil, of the dirt, the plants grew extremely fast. Plant number 3 grew from 0 to 24 inches in 4 days. So you can see that, like, basically, like here to here, which was, so that dot to that dot, which was a pretty, like steep climb. So, and they grew, they grew fast for a while. And then plant number 4 also grew pretty fast. Not as, it grew as, fast at first, but it didn't last as long. Plant number 4 grew 7 to 16 inches, and from 7 to 16 inches in 2 days, which is from that dot to that dot. And then the plant's growth pattern changed drastically, later on in the lab, and they kind of slowed down. And plant number 3 actually stopped growing by the end of our lab. It plateaus right here and just stays flat for the rest of the time. And then plant 4, it grew fast here, and then it kind of slowed down, but it never plateaued plant number 3. And then the next question we chose to answer was, discuss how each of the chambers in the Ecocolumn affected the other chambers. So yeah, that's good enough. Wait. Well, whatever. So the first chamber, this chamber.
Oh no, it's okay. I'll get it. Oh shoot.
Okay, sorry. The first chamber was the land chamber, which is this one. And so it has the plants and the worms and the roly-polies and dirt. And
roly-polies?
Yeah, she put those in there.
Okay.
So that chamber, that's the chamber we basically...
Oh my...
Whatever, it's fine, we don't need it. That's the chamber that gets, water, and it sustains, the life of the plants and animals. And so when you water that water trickles down with excess nutrients from the dirt and into the sand which is the middle chamber. And the sand just acts as a filter, so it filters out the water coming from the top chamber, and that water with the nutrients in it goes down into the bottom chamber, which that nutrients from the first chamber that filters through the second chamber. It gives nutrients to the kelp plant in our water chamber, and that kelp plant uses that nutrients to provide sustenance for the fish that we had, but our fish died sadly, but the fish that we had in the water chamber. So.
Okay. Oh, lastly, we have some questions that, if we could answer them, would be interesting, I guess, to know. So to what extent did the worms in the soil benefit the plants? Because the plants grew a lot and they needed someone to be adding organic matter to the soil. Oh, sorry. So what was the total effect of the role that they had in the plant's growth? And why did some of our plants die after the kidney beans started growing? Why were the kidney beans so good at growing and the other plants weren't? Would the fish have survived as long, and would the water plant have grown as much if the sand and gravel layer had not filtered the water from the soil? So basically, how effective was the sand layer, and why was it so necessary to filter out stuff to keep our fishy alive? And why did our soil fertility drop so long from day 34 to day, drop so low from day 34 to day 55? So from here to here, and then what made it go back up so much? And to what extent did the soil temperature affect plant growth and soil fertility? So if it had been warmer in the room or colder, or on some days it was warmer or colder, did the plants grow more or less that day? We didn't make those correlations, but I wonder if they had any sort of effect. So yeah. Jeez, it won't stop.